Hello everyone and welcome back. I really appreciate you guys for stopping by this video. As you guys have known from my previous videos, I just like Conquest. I know a lot of people don't like it. I personally like the PvE content in this game a bit more than the PvP content. And that's not to say that I don't like the PvP content, but I'm just more interested by the PvE content. And I think Conquest really has the ability to be what Grand Arena is for PvP. I think Conquest can be what Grand Arena is for PvP, but for PvE. And I think what I wanted to do here in this video is to give realistic changes that I think CG could implement that I think will make Conquest much more successful and much more loved by the community. Because I think when this was first introduced, Conquest was universally loved, and naturally CG was making changes, and some for the better and some for the worse. And I think ultimately what has happened is that we've kind of just finished on a product that isn't all that it could be. And I think that CG would have much more success by just getting some more engagement. And I think rather than just, providing a problem, I want to provide a solution. And before I go any further, I want to give a huge shout outs to a few content creators amongst the community that I reached out to before this video. I think we all watch all of their content, and they're some of the biggest PvE content creators out there, and I wanted to get some of their inputs before this. So please, if you haven't watched them already, Tripolysis, Bit Dynasty, Celiac, Sarah, thank you guys so much for responding to me. I reached out before I made this video. I think, we all watch your guys' stuff, and you guys had some great suggestions. But this video is all mine, for better or for worse. These are all my ideas, so do not blame any of the other creators for any of these ideas. This video is mine, but I did want to say thank you because I did reach out to them for some suggestions. Now, to get started, the first thing that I wanted to do was to give Conquest a definition for what I'm going to be basing this off of, because I think that in order to really make changes or to start improving upon something, we have to define or give an expectation for it. So I defined Conquest as a long-term event designed around using all parts of your roster to complete themed battles and feats for exclusive rewards. And what I mean by all of your roster is areas of your roster that you invested in. Naturally, if you're playing hard Conquest mode, you're not going to be able to use Gear 8 characters. You can't expect to use Gear 8 characters. There's definitely some, there's some instances where I've showed in previous videos where you're using super low stamina. Yeah, there's going to be times where it's going to happen and where that's pretty much a low gear character. But, if you invested in an Ewok team, or if you invested in a Rogue One team, or if you invested in, a low tier Sith team, with the data discs and everything, and with certain matchups, you're going to be able to use all different parts of your roster. But again, some will be better than others and used more consistently. And for the rewards here are the Conquest characters, your gear relic materials, your mod and Datacron materials, and the ability upgrade materials. Now, so what is, why don't we like Conquest? And I think it came down to pretty much two things. The first thing being that Conquest is very time consuming. I would say if you're going to try and get the red crate, it is about give or take an hour every day. Might be 30 minutes for some, might be more than that. Depends on how much you're moving data discs, how much you're doing battles, if you're having to grind out battles to where you're trying to keep a consumable going, or, if you're trying to get through as many battles as you can. I would say you can expect 30 minutes to an hour. And it takes, for a 2-week event, it takes about 10 to 11 days consistently. Again, might be shorter for others, might be longer for others, but I found for me it's about 10 to 11 days consistently, which This conflicts with a lot of things that are going around. They like to schedule this with Lightside Geo and with, Grand Arena is always going around. And it's one of those things that it makes the time spent in game become much, much larger. And, I would say for a lot of people, they just don't have the time to be doing that because, we have jobs, we have families, we have school, and we just, maybe for a mobile game, we don't have the time to go and dedicate this much time to this. And the issue with that is that the feats, how they are in game, have just no forgiveness whatsoever. If you are not on top of, staying on top of these feats, you are just not going to be able to get them done. And for some of these, that is crucial to getting, a red crate or to get one of the higher tier reward crates, or if you bought the Conquest Pass, to get as much rewards as you can. That time is it's a lot. And if you miss one day or if you miss 2 days, that's it. Or, let's just say you had enough time to do your dailies, but you don't have time for Conquest. Well, you might not be getting that Conquest character when it first comes out, which is a big deal. And I don't think that this is on par with how the rest of the game is. I think, we see with Grand Arena, we have a whole day to set defenses. For Territory Wars, we have a whole day to set defenses. For Galactic Challenge, for something that takes, maybe 30 minutes to do, we have like 2 to 3 days to do this, which I think Conquest is just not very... equivalent with how much time is invested. So how can CG improve it? Let's, you know what? I think we're just going to make myself disappear and we will come back in just a second. So there we go. So how can CG improve Conquest? First thing I think they should do is to increase the runtime from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. I think just they've been going on the week time frame, and I think it should run for the same time that Grand Arena runs. You started on like a Monday, you started on one of those certain times, and you let it run for 3 weeks. I think this gives people plenty of time. Maybe if they have to do some things over a weekend, or if they, real life, interferes and you're not able to dedicate time to a game, you have some forgiveness. And again, for the people who want to get it done super quickly, they're able to get it done super quickly. And I even guarantee that if we, by increasing it to 3 weeks, not everyone's still going to complete it. Some people just don't like to, they like to be a procrastinator, and that's just how it's going to be. But I think that by increasing it from 2 weeks to 3 weeks, I think people will have a much higher morale towards this mode. I think they need to half the wins and kills required for feats. So for global feats, win 40 battles with resistance, I think that needs to be 20. For inside a sector, I think the 14 wins, I think that should be 7. A lot of the times it is very monotonous having to go back to get these wins for the feats. And, 40 wins is a lot. Just due to how the stamina system works, if you're not on top of this and doing this regularly, you might not even have the time necessary to be able to complete this. And I know this is part of CG's pain points in order to do this, but I think instead of buying the stamina recharges, I think people are just not doing them. They're fine with just not getting the characters or some of the rewards, and I think that's a mistake here on their end. For the kills, 100 kills with Supreme Leader Kylo or Kylo Ren, I think that needs to be 50. For the sector feats, instead of 50 kills, I think that needs to be 25. I think if they did that, it would make the feats much more manageable, and it should be something that requires a little bit of focus, but it overall shouldn't be too much of a hassle to do. I think they should keep providing the Conquest character as a data disk that we can use for the events. And again, we may not actually use it all the time, but it's for something that's, this is a Conquest where you are advertising this character for people to buy a pass in, buy refreshes in, buy consumables, or, when they release those packs, you can go, they'll say, hey, maybe I want to buy this pack. I got the silver or the gold crate this time, and maybe I want to get this character now. I think that's having this here. It lets us play with the character. I used to play some other games. I played a lot of sports collector games like NBA 2K and Madden. And what they would do whenever they would release some new characters is they would give you some trial versions of the cards so that you could try it out. And after, it would only work for a couple of games. And I think that they should do that here. Again, let it be a 4.1 so it takes up a lot of your data disk slots, and just let the community have fun with the character. I don't think there's any harm in doing that, and if anything, it takes away from your other data disks, which is valuable. But for the sole purpose of you wanting to try out the character or just to have fun doing that, you're keeping it restricted in Conquest and not being able to use it outside of the game, which I think is fine. And if anything, it has made Conquest fun being able to use Malgus, being able to use Ben Solo. It's been great. I know this might not be a popular one, but add ship battles for the mid and final boss battles for ship conquest rewards. So, like for the Razor Crest, or when the TIE Interceptor was here, and I know that there's been some speculation about Red 5 coming to the game, have the mid boss battles and the final boss battles be ship battles. Ships has become a much bigger part of the game, and especially now that CG has been adding more and more content to ships, I think that it needs to be reflected in Conquest. And I think that they should keep the difficulty at what Galactic Challenges has been. I don't think that there has been a Galactic Challenge where you haven't been able to at least beat that final tier. If you have, a Negotiator, Malevolence, some good Rebels, or for the people that have the Executor, you shouldn't need, anything crazy to beat it. And just for those mid and final boss battles. Next, make switching data disks cost just regular credits and not Conquest energy. I think this is just something that you want people to interact with the data disks, and I understand that they want this to be a little bit of a pain point, but I think what is happening is people just aren't playing the mode, and again, I think that's a mistake. And so for this next one, I'm gonna touch on this one later in this video. But what I think CG should do is, rather than have the marquee themed feats, which for the time it was the Bad Batch feats, the Imperial Remnant feats, or the Inquisitor feats, I think they should make data disk themed feats, like in the global feats for the current and previous Conquest. And instead of making them global feats, I think they should make them sector feats. And the only way to get these data disks is to beat the final boss in that tier, and that will give you said data disk. And the only way that you can complete that feat is to go through Conquest and to get it. And again, I will touch on this one later in the video. But I think the idea was that if they release these new marquee characters, and as a way to further incentivize you to go purchase these characters, they make them feats in Conquest. What ends up happening is most people just skip them, or they're able to cheese it and just use it with minimal investments, and thus just kind of adding more headache to the mode. And last but not least is to remove the GP gate for Conquest and for Proving Grounds. If someone under 4 mil wants to do hard Conquest, just let them do it. However, I think it should be they lock themselves in, and once they go so far and they realize they messed up, let that be on them. I know that there is a slight GP gate for light side Geo and dark side Geo, but it's really not that high. And it's something that you let guilds go into these things, let these people go, let people under 4 mil go into hard Conquest, and same thing for Proving Grounds. I think the extra even for the people who have 7-star the character, I don't think the shard shop currency is really that big of a deal. Let people play your game. That's kind of all I really have on that. So that's what I've got so far. Let's jump to the next one. So I'm going to make myself a little smaller here. There we go. So for quality of life improvements, what I think they should do with the challenge path is keep the same format for how they have it. However, make the normal path restricted to no overprepared to overprepared 2. But when you get to the data disk slot, it will only give you gray or green data disks. And for the challenge path, make it at least over-prepared 3 and 4, but you get that extra data disk slot, and it will be a guaranteed green and blue data disks with a chance at purple at all of them. So again, it gives you greater incentive to stay on the challenge path because you're getting these higher and better data disks. But again, if that's something that you don't really care about, or maybe you don't need the help of the data disks, you have the roster to do it, just plow through normal and you can get this. For all conquest feats, give conquest credits. A lot of people will just do the bare minimum for the completed feats just to get the red crate or whatever crate that they're looking for. I don't think it hurts to give the extra conquest credits. Most people at some points, they'll end up having so much of it that they have to spend it just out of necessity. So I don't really see the issue with it. Instead of putting them in the Conquest Pass, put the titles and portraits to the Conquest feats. So like it used to be in Grand Arena that you would be able to get certain portraits and feats by doing certain things, and they have them in the reward tiers in the Conquest Pass in the reward track. But what I think that they should do is, let's just say they have for the Kylo Ren one. When you go and do your Veteran Han and, Kylo Ren Unmasked one, you get the portrait. And that's, one of the things that you get. And again, it doesn't really mean anything, but, CG did say that they were looking for another way to implement these titles and portraits. And a lot of people want the titles and portraits. Put them in Conquest. That's another reason for people to go and play Conquest. Another thing. When you go to announce the new Conquest character and with the update that brings Conquest, let us know everything about the mode. Let us know what the new data disks are. If you're taking any away, let us know what the boss battles are and the feats. Just like you did for the Datacrons, let us know ahead of time and don't make us rely on SWGH events to go and data mine it for you. Just let us know ahead of time. I know this is just a communication thing, and not too much control over it, but it's these little things that help. And last but not least, provide bonus conquest energy, once a day. There's one time where, when you get your bonus energy, where you get your fleet energy and your mod energy and all that, just throw conquest in there. It doesn't hurt. Just 45 energy or, something like that. It doesn't really hurt. Next, I love them. You love them. We all love and hate them. Datacrons aren't going away. And I think I've liked having the bonus tiers for Datacrons, but let us sim them. You let us sim everything else. The assault battles you let us sim, mod battles, gear, relic material. If you want us to interact with Datacrons, let us sim it. And again, this gives people an incentive to keep refreshing Conquest energy as a way to get Datacron material. You can affect the drop rates however you want. You can affect the quantities however you want, but just let us sim it. Keep those bonus tiers and let us sim it at 3 stars. Next, our favorite thing is monetization. I think they should keep the Conquest Pass. I have been on record. I have bought the $10 Conquest Pass for most of the previous Conquests, I think from the Scion of Django one on. But get rid of the Pass Plus. And because they're making this longer, there's no reason for the extra energy and the extra stamina regen. I think they should just leave that as is. They can adjust the price if they need to go up from $10 to $20. You know what, I'll leave that up to CG, but just keep the standard Conquest Pass. This will give you the extra character shards, the extra reward track, and when I mentioned earlier about having the sector feats with the data disks, so in this case it was the 2 purple, so let's just say those 2 purple cards, or the 2 purple data disks, have those be included in the Conquest Pass, and you get them day 1 with Conquest, and you can do those sector feats right away, and you don't have to fulfill the feats for the boss tier. And with this, I think they should remove the base reward track and just have these gear and mod things be added to the end crates and just have it, tiered for whatever crate that you get. And so this gives you the incentive to buy the Conquest Pass. You don't have to invest your Conquest currency in the shards or anything else. You can save it for consumables. You can do anything else. If you want to get the character early, you want the extra reward track, or you want the extra data disks without having to go do it, you just buy the pass. And I think that this kind of gives it this kind of battle pass mentality, which I think this game would really benefit from. But that's what I think that they should do for monetization. I think these changes make sense, given, the quality of life, everything. And I think these monetization things would actually work very well for CG and making Conquest much more popular and people more likely to spend money. Next, I think Conquest has been fantastic with themes so far, but I think they can up the ante just a little bit. I've liked, how they kind of have this path with, the boss battles. I think so off the top of my head for this Conquest, we have JML, Poe, Vethan, the Ultimate Luke, and C, and it's kind of following the path of Kylo Ren throughout the sequels, and I think they've done a good job with that. And I've liked how some of the sector feats and the global feats will relate to that. But I think as a way to go a little bit further, let the factions that are used in Conquest have their associated Galactic Challenge Conquest boost activated for any battle. So for this one, it's the First Order and the Resistance. For the previous one, it was the Sith Empire. Let them have their Conquest, let them have their boost activated as a further incentive to use this team, gear up this team, and to do things like that. And for the sector feats, limit it to buffs and debuffs core to the faction, and have the wins with certain characters, wins with certain teams related to the characters of said faction. So for this Conquest, it would be gain advantage, inflict expose, gain expired, win battles, and let's just say, for the mini boss battles or for the sector ones, let's just say you have to win 7 battles with OG Finn and OG Poe surviving on the same team. Or, have something with like BB-8 and Poe, or do, Rose and Finn, do something like that. And again, this has they've done a good job of this for the most part. But I think it should be one of those things. And I think one of those things that I think CG will be able to make up for the less amount of people buying the marquee characters. For the people that have not invested in these factions, they may say, well, I don't have a good First Order or Resistance, but man, Ben Solo looks really good, and if I want to get him, I need to have this team up and running. Or for the people that have these factions, they're rewarded for investing in these factions because they are crucial to this Conquest that's coming up. So that is what I got there, and I believe that is the end of my little spreadsheet for you guys here. So I appreciate you guys for watching this video here. Conquest is something that's been one of my favorite modes, and I think these changes could really be good for the health of the game and to make Conquest a much more enjoyable experience that people are going to play and spend money in. Because at the end of the day, the more people that are playing this game and the more people that are spending money on this game, the longer the lifespan of this game. Which we all love to play. But let me know what you guys think, and thank you again to the Conquest for the content creators who I mentioned in the beginning of the video. I will have links to their channels in the description. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.